Bitcoin is the first unconfiscatable asset in human history.
Meme coins are just identical of
It,
pennies.
right. Crypto, it is, in a way, gambling.
Where do you see Bitcoin in the next 5 years?
Bitcoin is more like the internet itself.
What advice would you give to up-and-coming people looking to invest into cryptocurrency?
Never trade scared money. Bitcoin should be looked at as an investment, and investments have a 5+ year horizons. What do you mean you taking my legally earned money at the bank to bail the banks in? We were only allowed to leave with $100 per family member.
Hello and welcome to BetTalks, powered to you by 0x Processing. My name's Rick Godds and I am joined by a special guest. He is a former Wall Street financial engineer, a crypto trader. He is the founder of FinSummit and Unconfiscatable. He has over 500,000 followers across all of his social media platforms, and he is one of the first crypto OGs. Tone Vays, welcome to BetTalks.
Thanks, Rick. And yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast. There's going to be some very interesting topics because, Bitcoin trading and gambling are of interest in my life as well. So this is perfect.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure having you here. You are a real OG in the crypto space, and it's good to track you down. We finally sort of met in person. I've seen you around the conference scene for years. But we finally met at Gordon's Tech Tuesdays.
Yeah, and I did speak at a couple of Sigma events over the world, mostly in Malta and a few others. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Still doing awesome events. I know what a hard business it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen you on the circuit for many years. I mean, I've been around the crypto space, but more the gaming, gambling sector. I mean, what a crazy factor that's going. I mean, Bitcoin. I mean, you are an OG of it. How did it all start?
Oh man, so Bitcoin is the ultimate, like, in gambling, pretty much, based on its volatility, which is why a lot of governments have always been very, very skeptical of Bitcoin. And I mean, some governments do try to look out for a lot of their citizens more than others, and that's why Bitcoin and crypto in general has been a very, very hot topic, but people are becoming more and more comfortable with it. Bitcoin is now 16 years old, and I'm waiting for that 20-year anniversary. And the reason is, once Bitcoin is more than 20 years old, people that are entering the workforce will be younger than Bitcoin itself.
Correct.
And it will no longer be this scary thing. Just like the internet, I was in college when the internet first started to become popular, and how many people were ready to quit their jobs or start their career in the internet space? It was very few, and today it's part of everyone's life. It's impossible not to make a living without it. So hopefully pretty soon, in about 5 years, Bitcoin's going to be the same.
It will just be integrated into daily lifestyle. Like you say, 20 years old.
Yeah.
It reached that generation where people just are born into it.
Yeah, and because of its scarcity, it has to go up in price by default because there will not be more than 21 million Bitcoin. If you add the entire crypto space, yes, there's like a million other tokens out there. If you think of the crypto space as a whole, yes, there is infinite amount of tokens. But with Bitcoin itself, there's only going to be 21 million.
For sure. So, former Wall Street financial engineer, I want to know more. I want to dig deep into actual Tone Vays. Before the crypto even was a thing, tell me how the journey started on Wall Street.
Sure. So, my journey didn't immediately start on Wall Street. My educational background is actually geology and mathematics. I was really good in hard sciences. I'm terrible in like writing, reading. I'll take a chemistry textbook or a physics textbook to read over a novel any day. I just process it better with the way my brain functions. And I started out as a high school teacher, but after 1 year, I knew that wasn't going to be my career. I love educating. I really like teaching people. I'm very good at teaching people, at breaking down complicated subjects, which is why my podcast and my YouTube channel became so popular in those earlier days of Bitcoin, because of my ability to break down the topics. But I only like to teach people that want to listen, and that's not the New York City's educational system. That and the money just wasn't there, and I thought I can do something better. So I went and got a master's degree in financial engineering, and after a year looking for a job with being a college professor, I got my first job at a company called Bear Stearns. I don't know if you remember that company that famously went under in 2008. And I got that job in very late 2006, right before the financial crisis. The other interesting aspect of it is before I got that job, I already started getting into trading. So I learned to trade while I was getting my master's degree, and then I was still trading. I just didn't have a lot of money to trade with. Even though I had good strategies and I was profitable, it wasn't enough to make a living, and it's also a very stressful living. One of the biggest rules in trading is never trade scared money. If you're trading money you can't afford to lose, just like with gambling, if you're, betting on a sport game, your monthly rent, you're not going to have an enjoyable time gambling. Gambling is something that you do with your play money. It's not something you do with, your child's education or your rent money or your food money. Same thing as trading. So same kind of rules apply. And I ran out of money in my trading portfolio betting on the real estate crash. And I ended up getting a job at Bear Stearns, which a year and a half later collapsed because of the real estate crash, ironically. So I stayed on Wall Street for about 10 years, mostly on the quant team building risk models. So that's what we were doing. And I first heard about Bitcoin around 2011 through a show on RT called The Kaiser Report. I'm sure you're familiar with Max Kaiser and his work. And the reason I was watching RT is because I started getting interested in politics, and that was the only place you could follow the Ron Paul campaign for president. And Ron Paul, of course, didn't win that presidency, but that put Bitcoin on my radar. So I remember Googling it in 2011 a little bit, and it just didn't catch my attention enough. The use cases for Bitcoin back then, one was WikiLeaks, donating to WikiLeaks. And while I thought that was a great use case, I was just, again, too busy working 12 hours a day, Wall Street. It's not what you see in the movies. It's not like Wolf of Wall Street.
Chaos.
It's not like that. I mean, I was in a division that was very organized. So those are exceptions to Wall Street. And so in 2011, 2012, heard about it again, Googled it in 2012. All I saw was mining. And I'm like, okay, I don't have time for this. It's not interesting. But then in 2013, something really captured my attention. It was the banking confiscation of money in Cyprus. When the European Union shut down the Cyprus banks and confiscated 50% of everyone's money above 100,000 euros. So if you legally earned and saved 200,000 euros in your bank account, the government took 50,000.
Wow.
And if you legally saved €1 million for your retirement, the government took 450,000 euros to bail in the banks. And that really caught my attention because I was saving for an apartment in New York at the time, and I had over $100,000 in the bank, saving about to buy my apartment. And that just completely altered the way I thought about the banking system, the way I thought about money, the way I thought about governments. I'm like, what do you mean you taking my legally earned money at the bank to bail the banks in? It's my money.
Correct.
And everyone has these stories. Oh, only like drug dealers keep cash under their pillow in their basement. You're not supposed to do that. That's not safe. So what do? And gold was never really a solution for me. I like gold, but as a trader, as an investor, I know what a terrible investment gold is. They say gold is a good hedge against inflation. It is a good hedge against inflation, but it's a terrible hedge against the advancement of technology. They love to claim that a gold coin bought you a really nice suit 100 years ago, and it buys you a nice suit today. pretty much the same quality, nice suit, which is great. But if you sold that one gold coin 100 years ago and you put the money in the Dow Jones, for example, you can own a whole suit factory today
There's
or
no
more.
inflation there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only inflation. It doesn't account for the advancement in technology. And that's why having a diversified stock portfolio is always a better investment than gold.
Sure.
And this is where Bitcoin finally caught my attention. And one of my brands that I'm wearing on my hat, unconfiscatable, that's when I realized that Bitcoin is the first unconfiscatable asset in human history. And this word does not exist in the English language. I was able to get the domain for about $12 because this word doesn't exist.
Unconfiscatable.
Unconfiscatable. And
unseizable. So
pretty much, it's an unseizable asset if you protect your private key with self-custody. One day, maybe it will be fully confiscatable. If you think of the movie Inception,
yes,
you remember that movie?
Yes, yeah.
Where people would enter another person's brain to try to get their secrets.
Sure.
That's the ultimate Bitcoin risk, because you can keep your private key in your head. No one has to know you even own Bitcoin, and you are now able to travel anywhere with wealth in your head, which didn't exist. As another quick story of my family history, when I was young, my family fled the Soviet Union. It was still communist at the time. It was before 1991, the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
We left the Soviet Union in 1989. And when we were leaving the Soviet Union, we were surrendering our passports, never to come back to the Soviet Union, which 2 years later no longer existed. So obviously I can go and travel back to Russia.
Do you class yourself as Russian or Ukrainian?
I'm half and half.
Okay.
So it's with this war conflict. It's
very gray area.
It's a little bit of a gray area. But for those watching, my family is East Ukrainian. In case anyone, there's a big difference in East Ukrainian and West Ukrainian. My personal YouTube channel is turning political. Maybe we can talk about that at the very end.
Yeah.
And when we were leaving the country, never to be back, we were only allowed to leave with $100 per family member.
Wow.
That's all you can leave with. And it was very strictly enforced.
And what year was that?
1989.
Okay.
So $100 obviously bought you more stuff.
Sure.
But let's say best case scenario, it's $1,000 in purchasing power today, which is probably not, but let's just say it that way. So imagine you having to leave your home, whether it's here or where you're from originally, UK.
Yeah.
And imagine you have to sell all your possessions. The government takes everything, and you have $1,000 per family member to go to a new country where you don't know the language
To set up. Yeah,
to start a new life, and that's all you have.
Wow.
Right? And the existence of Bitcoin prevents this from ever happening again.
Correct.
Because you can now store wealth in your head. So this is what got me super interested in Bitcoin. It was 2013 when I got interested. I started reading up about it. I got in a little bit later than that. And so it's debatable. I'm on that OG. I know so many people that have been around Bitcoin longer than me, but a lot of them also faltered and went off and started altcoins and completely given up on Bitcoin. So there's very few people left. All the people that I learned Bitcoin from, there's only like less than 5 people that are still in Bitcoin today. Everyone else has veered off the path. And the gambling aspect to it is in the United States at the time, gambling was still frowned upon. It is fully legal today. It's been legal for the last 15 years or so.
Land-based, yeah.
But at the time, there was still illegal. It was still kind of illegal from internet perspective. And Bitcoin was able to resolve that issue. And the first thing I did was when I acquired some Bitcoin, and one of the first use cases was, oh, I can bet on games again.
Yeah.
I can bet on my university's football team. And I did. I started placing a couple of bets. And I remember at the time I had a decent job and I was so confident in a game. And I bet $1,000 on a football game. And my team won, but missed the spread by a little bit. And that $1,000 was pretty much a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking after I lost that bet, I'm like, yeah, I know it's only $1,000 and it's not a big deal, but man, this Bitcoin may go up in value. It could be worth a few $1,000s one day. And that was the last bet I ever made. So it's been pretty much 10 years.
There is a gamble there in some way.
Yeah.
But one thing I need to know, I mean, you got involved in Bitcoin. I mean, what Bitcoin is today, at 2013, I mean, what was the price of Bitcoin back then?
Man, 2013 was a crazy year. Bitcoin started at $10 in the beginning of 2013,
wow.
and it ended at $1,000 at the end of 2013. And just like most people, you always get in at the very end of the bull market because you're watching this thing and learning about it as it goes up and up and up and up. And you keep saying to yourself, oh, it's going to drop, it's going to drop, it's going to drop, and it doesn't drop. And then eventually you get in, even as an experienced trader. Eventually, you're like, no, I can't wait anymore. I get in, and then it crashes. So I did get in at the top of the 2013 cycle, back when it was closer to $1,000. But I understood Bitcoin. I understood why I was getting in, and I just watched it go down. But it's okay.
Yep.
I knew it was going to come back up.
Incredible. So you've financially secured yourself within cryptocurrency. What advice would you give to our listeners of people coming into the crypto space? I mean, you're very knowledgeable within the financial sector. You've studied Bitcoin from early days. What advice would you give to up-and-coming people looking to invest into cryptocurrency?
So my biggest advice is understanding the difference between investing and trading. Those are two very different things, right? You invest in your home when you buy a home. You invest in people invest in early stage companies. People invest in other real estate for income, rental income. People invest in themselves by learning a new skill.
Correct.
Bitcoin should be looked at as an investment. And investments have a 5+ year horizons. Pretty much all investments should be looked at as 5+ year horizons. Now, people can flip houses. You can, buy a home and then look to sell it the next year. People do that. People can buy land, build a home, contractors, and then they immediately resell it. But they plan to do that. So if you plan to trade Bitcoin, you still have to look at Bitcoin as an investment, and then you could trade a part of that investment. It's no different than a person's trading portfolio. So there are traders that are trading as a profession. But if you are saving money in the stock market for retirement, you shouldn't touch 90% of it, or at least minimum 80%. And then you trade with the other 10 or 20%. Yep. It's the same thing for Bitcoin. If you're going to be trading Bitcoin, you should still hold on to 80 or 90% of it and only trade with that remainder 10 to 20%. Now, that's Bitcoin. There's also a whole different side of the crypto world. So in my debatable opinion, there is absolutely nothing in the entire crypto ecosystem that is worthy of investment other than Bitcoin. Everything else needs to be looked at through a lens of short-term speculative trading, even Ethereum. So while Bitcoin to me is investment worthy, Ethereum is not investment worthy. There is nothing wrong with trading Ethereum to acquire more wealth, which should then be converted into a longer term investment like Bitcoin or real estate or yourself or anything else. So to me, I haven't seen anything in crypto that is worthy of locking up your wealth on a 5-year horizon. And Ethereum has been dropping against Bitcoin for the last 3 to 4 years, and I'm pretty sure it's going to keep going.
What's your thoughts on Ethereum having more usability factor than BTC?
So usability is very relative.
Correct.
Something could be very usable, but the use case isn't very important.
But everything runs on the Ethereum network.
But nothing important to society runs on the Ethereum network, right?
Okay.
So yes, there is a lot of things running on it,
Yeah.
but how important is it? And it's not. There is no critical infrastructure on Ethereum. No one should be saving the Ethereum token for their long-term wealth aspect. And Ethereum is at major risk of competition from projects like Solana and Cardano and everything else under the sun. Because to me, Ethereum and Solana and all these other crypto projects, to me, they have a lot more similarity to a tech company like Google or Amazon or Tesla, any of these companies. To me, they are centralized projects that have a CEO that you can name or the equivalent of a CEO you can name. To me, Bitcoin is more like the internet itself. No matter how big Tesla gets, no matter how big NVIDIA gets, no matter how big Google gets, they don't compete with the internet itself. These are companies that utilize the internet. Bitcoin is that layer. So investing in Bitcoin is like investing in the internet. You're not picking and choosing success or failure of companies based on the people in those companies. We never had the ability to invest in the internet. We only had to pick and choose tech companies on top of the internet. In the crypto space, people miss that Bitcoin is that layer that is not going to go away. And if Bitcoin ever collapses, everything in crypto collapses. But if Ethereum collapses, no one cares. Everyone's going to move to Solana. So
it's the same kind of
right.
thing.
So there's nothing wrong with trading these tokens. There's nothing wrong with experimenting, building something on top of these platforms. But if you're ever going to build critical infrastructure that is too important to fail, you would never build it on any of them. You would go back and find a way to do it on Bitcoin or a side chain of Bitcoin like Liquid or Lightning. And those projects I find very interesting. And I just don't find any interesting projects on altcoins or altcoins themselves, because to me, they're layers for non-important projects.
Wow. Great answer. Great answer. You've seen this decentralized industry, financial industry, grow since 2012, 13. What's your thoughts on meme tokens? 0x Processing are focused mainly on two things: acceptance rate and security, achieving an unprecedented level by combining blockchain infrastructure with broad account security measures. 0x Processing, a crypto payment gateway for your business.
I mean, I don't really think about the meme tokens too much. They are not very interesting to me. There's lots of speculative money to be made on meme tokens. There's also lots of money to potentially be lost on meme tokens. So going back to my trading career, so I'm more of a traditional trader. I'm more of an options trader, but I've traded pretty much everything except I don't really trade fixed income. I don't trade bonds, and I don't trade currencies. I never had an interest in trading currencies. So I mostly trade stocks and commodities with either buying, selling stock commodities or options on stocks. The one thing I never had an interest in trading, even back in the day, was penny stocks. Okay. If you watch the movie Wolf of Wall Street, he made his money in penny stocks on the pink sheets.
Jordan Belfort.
And every year, you can just Google, what were the top 5 performing stocks? And you'll see that they're penny stocks. So every year, there's always a stock that made 5,000%, right? It went from half a penny to like 25 cents. And that's a massive return. So even when I was trading in the stock market on my own or with people, I traded big name stocks. I traded S&P 500 stocks, NASDAQ 100 stocks. I wanted to trade Apple and Amazon and Google. These are the stocks because I like technical analysis trading, and I want my asset to be super liquid so I can analyze the patterns of big institutions and how they're getting in and out. I never had an interest in penny stock trading. And I know people, there were newsletters, there was nothing new under the sun. Everything that's happening in meme coins right now happened in the 1980s and 1990s and the 2000s with the advent of the internet. You know, I remember my buddies in college, and once they turned 18 and they can trade stocks on their own, you go and open E-Trade, which was brand new. This was like 1999, 2000. And like they're trading penny stocks because you can buy them, you know, 1,000 shares, right, of a stock that's half a penny. And it never interested me because I felt like I was never in control of my trade.
So meme coins are just identical of penny stocks.
Right. It's the same thing. The only difference is it's less regulated. So back in the day,
was penny stocks regulated?
they're kind of regulated because they're regulated in some forms. And this is the other interesting part. When internet trading first came out, suddenly it became easier for the average person to trade. A college student was never able to trade stocks prior to 1998 when E-Trade first came out with an online brokerage.
Sure.
But there's still regulation. Here's an example. If you're going to be a day trader, even today, you need $25,000 in your account. Otherwise, there is a 3-day rule where you got to hold a stock for 3 days. So that's a regulation. You needed to be 18 years old to open a brokerage account, right? So this is some regulation. You needed to have ID, KYC. You needed to be in a certain country.
Yeah.
Those rules in the stock market still apply. It's very minor restriction, but it is a restriction. The altcoin game, before the meme coins even came out, like trading Litecoin, for example, or Ethereum, had no restrictions. You can be 12 years old. You could be anywhere in the world. So even the smallest of restrictions on trading went away. And that was one of the additional appeals that altcoin trading and crypto trading had over the traditional stock trading and even penny stock trading. So the penny stock companies, the company itself isn't that regulated, but trading that company has the same regulation, even a little more regulation. You have to be approved to trade penny stocks on top of being approved to trade traditional big name stocks.
Sure.
And so that aspect of it is definitely something new for people. And eventually, you know, those 12-year-olds trading altcoins have now become 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, the space is getting older, and they're educating their kids on how ridiculous it was back then. Now it's the meme coins.
Yeah.
But I think the meme coin angle is coming to an end because
It's community-based building, right?
Yeah.
People are building. I mean, people are investing in dog with hat. I mean,
So I think that's ending, and here's why I think the meme coins is ending. So meme coins are all fun, but meme coins depend on a concept called affinity. Back in 2015 and 16, when we were doing podcasts, we were calling them affinity scams. So affinity is your social capital. So you build a reputation. We can name names, but you build a reputation. There was a few. Mr. Hex, for example, built a reputation as a Bitcoiner, and then eventually launches his own token. And you use your affinity, your social capital, your following. The bigger your following, the more likely your meme coin is to succeed. You need a story.
Correct.
We also used to call this proof of news. As long as your token is in the news, it will go up in value. And every token is fighting for proof of news.
It's a hype.
Yeah, this is why a lot of these CEOs of these token projects, like the Ethereums and Cardanos and Ripples, they're all on that group of 20 people that are going to be at Trump with Trump. They were all fighting for that, right? Yeah. Like, I want to be named. That's the concept of your affinity. And Donald Trump is the ultimate affinity. It's the biggest name, one of the biggest names in the world.
Most
It's not
spoke about
the
names
biggest name in the
yeah,
world.
Right now, yeah, for sure.
And if Trump can't make a successful meme coin, who else has more affinity than Trump? Maybe
That's a great theory. Yeah.
Maybe Joe Rogan, maybe Elon Musk, right? But there's very few people, and Elon Musk already has his meme
one,
coin,
yeah,
right? He has Doge, and so there's very few people left. Like, who's gonna, if Trump can't make his token keep going up, who can? And that's why I think the meme coin, something new will come out. There'll be something new next year.
I like that theory. If Trump can't make it work, then no one else can. Do you know what I mean? It's great. Tony, it's great. Your knowledge in the industry is incredible. I want to ask you one question. Tone Vays, is crypto gambling?
Crypto, it is in a way gambling. I don't consider Bitcoin gambling if you're looking at it as a long-term investment that diversifies your asset. I mean, putting 90% of your life into Bitcoin may not be the smartest move. Some of us have done that, and
that is a gamble.
but it depends. So it's a calculated gamble because for some people, going all in on a project and even having that project fail, that person knows if they can rebuild. You know, they always say that if you've been a millionaire and then you go completely broke, it doesn't take long to become a millionaire again because you're not starting from zero.
No, you already have that network.
You have the network and you have the experience.
Correct.
So for those that don't have that, it's a lot more challenging. Now, the crypto space, if you exclude Bitcoin, yes, it is gambling, but that doesn't make it bad because back in the dot-com days of the early 2000s, it was no different. It was also kind of gambling, and 99% of those companies failed. But in that failure, it built us the current technology we use today. So that failure wasn't necessarily bad. So it is possible that something useful is going to come out of the crypto space. So Bitcoin's here, crypto is here. I haven't seen anything useful come out of the crypto space other than, tokens going up and down in value. But it's possible something useful could come out of the crypto space. I'm not going to bet and gamble on which project is going to come out. There's 10,000 altcoins. I've never bet on any of them. I might have taken on a short-term trade here or there based on certain metrics and technical analysis, but I never bet on any project succeeding. But if a project does happen to be useful and starts to succeed, it will be replicated on top of Bitcoin, and then we'll see if it's actually needed and successful. So it depends how you treat it. If you are spending your time and trying to build something useful in the altcoin space, as long as you're not taking advantage of people, that's gambling with your time, perhaps. But if you are investing in any of these projects, I think that's on the gambling side. If you are short-term trading these projects, as long as you keep your risk to a reasonable level and you are up to date on everything, I personally do not trade altcoins because I don't find the technical analysis is all that great, other than in a few very liquid tokens. These are your Ethereums, your Solanas, your top 10. Yeah. Anything outside of that, you got to be in these private chat groups that have insider information. And I use the term insider information very loosely because it is not the concept of insider information being illegal or criminal, I believe, is specific to the stock market. So having insider information on currency, for example, like what the euro is going to do or what the British pound's going to do, there's no illegality there. You can trade on this information. Same thing with commodities. The concept of using insider information for personal profit is a violation only when it comes to stocks. So crypto doesn't have that regulation either. So if you know the insider information, you are welcome to place these bets. But you need that insider information. And I don't want to spend my day in chat groups keeping up with it. So if you are the kind of person that does, if you are on top of these chat groups that have the capacity to pump and dump these tokens, yes, there's money to be made, but you have to be on top of it constantly. And again, I don't like it when people promote this stuff. It's a capitalist market. You know, you can trade, you can use your money any way you like. But today with social media being so popular, I don't like the fact that someone could be an anonymous account on Twitter and acquire this following, promoting and pumping and dumping these tokens. So I find that to be very unethical.
Which there's a lot of that about.
And I stay away from that world.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you've told me about, obviously, unconfidential, okay?
Unconfiscatable.
Tell me more about the financialsummit.com. I mean, you're doing your own conferences. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so the Financial Summit is an event that I started as a retreat for financial professionals. We have one coming up in 1 week from now, so I don't know when this will air.
This will be live. We always pre-record, so yeah.
How long does it take to edit and get it out?
We could be out in the next couple of weeks or so, yeah.
Okay, so the event would have already passed.
Okay.
So the event is, as of right now, the event is 1 week away. This year it's happening in Maldives.
Oh, wow.
I like to select high-end resorts that have villas with private pools. It's designed for the successful financial entrepreneur or financial professionals. I try to focus on traders, money managers like hedge funds, family offices, financial services. It's a bit financial focused, but even if you're not into finance, this event is a $9,000 event that includes 5 nights, all inclusive, very high end. And those that are able to afford this event, they've been successful in their financial career. So there are no predetermined speakers. The event is only for 40 to 50 people. And everyone that attends is a qualified speaker because they've had financial success in their life. Right. And we have a big health and wellness component. So in the mornings, we have like breathing and meditation and a gym. And I usually try to bring health professionals, either nutrition experts or like boxing trainers, people in that realm, or like brain psychology experts. And half the event focuses on your health and wellness and your mental state. And the other half are group discussions on, okay, what's next in the markets? How can we, succeed and, keep our money or get wealthier in the future? Nice. And it's designed as a nice, relaxing environment. We usually rent a big presidential villa where everyone hangs out in the evenings, smoke cigars, maybe play some poker, depending on the jurisdiction. If gambling happens to be legal in that jurisdiction. Sure. And Unconfiscatable is now a poker tournament in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And one day poker will come to the UAE, and would love to do the event here, a Bitcoin-denominated poker tournament, once it's legal here in the UAE. That would be amazing.
Incredible. So the financialsummit.com, clients are vetted before they get accepted to come to your event?
It depends on availability. They're partially vetted, but again, the price point of the event is a self-vetting structure. We just make sure that the person is not going to try to scam our following. Yeah, so as far as their background in their expertise, any expertise is accepted. But yeah, if someone that created a token that I consider unethical, that person might be rejected. Correct. But it's very, very rare. I also think that people coming to an event like this are smart to figure out if there's someone that is trying to scam them. Sure. And in general, people that are trying to scam other people don't tend to pay for events like this. when you spend 5 days with other high quality people, you really get to know them. And that's one of the things that separates the financial summit. Usually when people go to events, they're just there in the afternoons. You talk to someone for 10, 20 minutes. I purposely do this event in a secluded environment. So when I did it in the UAE, we were in Ras Al Khaimah. We were all the way in the desert, the Ritz-Carlton, Al Wadi Desert.
Yeah.
And you're stuck there.
Correct.
I would never do this event in downtown Dubai because then in the evenings, all these people are important. They have friends all over the world.
Yes.
They're going to scatter. They're going to go somewhere else. But if you bring this group
So you keep it remote.
2 hours into the desert in remote or on an island in the Maldives, or we've done it in Bali as well, you're actually stuck there with the other people. And when you get to meet them, you realize what an awesome time you're having because you're meeting high quality people. And now you get to really chat. So multiple companies have started with the people that met each other at this event.
Great. Wow. And how long has this been running? How long has it been running for?
This is event number 6. I started in 2019, right before the pandemic. That was our first event was in a pandemic, and then 2 had to be canceled in 2020.
Brilliant. Well, stay tuned for the Financial Summit and more to come for that as well. Hopefully soon to be in Dubai. A lot more. You did just mention one thing, and that was gambling becoming regulated in the UAE. Now, we do touch base on this a lot here at BetTalks. We cover everything from gaming/gambling, crypto, everything emerging tech within the UAE. Now, I know you've been coming out of the UAE for a long time. Where do you see, I mean, obviously come 2027, what's your thoughts on gambling becoming regulated in the UAE?
This is one of the things that fascinates me about the UAE. It's the leaders of the country really look forward and they look ahead. And I talk a lot about this stuff on my personal YouTube channel, which has become very political. And I separated my finance. The finance talk on trading and assets is on the Financial Summit YouTube channel. And my personal channel is more geopolitics and social issues. So everyone thinks that democracy is the greatest form of government. And people confuse or people assume that capitalism is democracy and communism is dictatorship. But capitalism and communism are economic models. And capitalism and dictatorship, and I'm just using the extremes, are political structures. They're completely independent. You can have full capitalism under a dictatorship political model. And you can have full communism under a democracy. We're looking at it in most of Europe and Canada and many other countries, which are basically, to me, what the Soviet Union was with a democracy as the political structure. And then you have places like the UAE, which is a monarchy, which is very close to a dictatorship, with a full capitalism as the economic model. And to me, what's way more important is the capitalistic economic model. And it's completely irrelevant. Your political model is irrelevant. In fact, you can make an argument that a dictatorship political model is better for capitalism because it can be planned 10, 20, 30 years into the future. Unlike America, where Biden comes in, cancels everything Trump did, and now Trump comes in, cancels everything Biden did. So how do you plan as a company? How do you plan your life? How do you plan your company strategy if every 4 years
Things are
the
changing.
rules are completely flipping?
Yeah.
Versus
Agreed.
something like the UAE, which has a plan, or even Russia and China. They have a 10, 20, 30-year plans where companies can plan
And they stick to that plan.
into that future, right? So the UAE, just like they do with alcohol, where yes, if you are a local, if your religion doesn't allow you to drink alcohol, you're not able to buy it. And if you are a foreigner living in the UAE, you go and get an alcohol license that allows you to buy alcohol because it's not illegal against your religion. And there's no I don't see why gambling is any different. If you are living in the UAE and gambling is against the Muslim religion, you should not be able to gamble. But if you are a foreigner living in the UAE and the UAE is thriving, an incredible place because a lot of foreigners are moving here, and even more will probably move here if you can go and get your gambling license because it's not illegal against your religion while you live here. So I think that's going to be the model, very similar to the alcohol model. And I think it's going to be huge for UAE thriving and becoming a bigger global hub.
Agreed. Great answer. How do you see local Emiratis accepting gambling?
Again, the same way they have accepted alcohol, where they don't have to participate, but there's nothing wrong with providing that industry. I want to be careful on how I say it. There's nothing wrong with, again, if it's against your religion to participate, it may not be against your religion to provide a service you may not participate in yourself. And again, you got to look at the bigger picture. Your competitors will do it. Okay. And other nearby countries will take over and they're going to steal the brain drain, as I like to call it, which is super important. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most important things to your country, your city thriving is, are you able to attract the brightest, the smartest, and the hungriest entrepreneurs?
Future growth.
Right. And either you compete or you get outcompeted. And it's something that as society advances, you have to compete at every level of society.
You mentioned other countries that are obviously on the doorstep, such as Saudi Arabia, very competitive with the UAE. Obviously, Saudi is becoming now more regulated. There's no signs of gambling being regulated there, but they are buying up a lot of the sports rights, a lot of obviously TV, obviously stations now are going to be stationed within Saudi Arabia. One more question before I wrap things up, because it's been great having you on the show. You're extremely knowledgeable. I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure our viewers will as well. Where do you see Bitcoin in the next 5 years?
Okay, so when we talk about Bitcoin, there's three things to Bitcoin. There is the news cycle, the economic side of Bitcoin, and there is the trading, the price, specifically price side of Bitcoin. So I'll cover all three briefly. I think 5 years from now, Bitcoin will be a full household name. So that's that 20-year mark, just like the internet. Mm. So people will no longer be scared of it. People will be accepting of it. And a lot more people are going to be willing to take it as a salary or for goods and services. I think the circular economy within Bitcoin is going to be way more robust. On the economic side, that's part of the economic side. I think the Lightning Network will finally be used more as the transaction fees will likely be higher in 5 years. And it gives the Lightning Network for small transactions a chance to develop. On the price side, I am very bullish on the price because as Bitcoin gets more and more adopted, because there's a limited amount of Bitcoin, the price I expect to go up. How high within the next 5 years? I think within 5 years from now, I think my floor would be $250,000 for one Bitcoin.
$250,000.
That was the floor. That's okay. the bottom end within 5 years from now. Because if Bitcoin doesn't keep going up, then it pretty much dies. It completely depends on the price rising as it gets adopted. If the price isn't rising, then it's not being adopted, then the price would go down. And I am expecting countries to start taking it seriously, mining it, holding on to it in reserve, and companies. There is also other global aspects that I think will drive people into Bitcoin. I would be very surprised if the euro as a single common currency will remain 5 years from now. I've been expecting it to break up into its components. And I think within 5 years, that is very likely to happen. I'm also skeptical the United States will remain a single country. My timeline on that is a little bit longer than 5 years. It's more like 7 to 8 years. And let's see if Trump is going to unite the country or create a bigger divide, because the country has been dividing over the last, the first Trump 4 years followed by Biden was definitely creating a divide where I was expecting that if Trump didn't win the election, I would have expected a couple of states like Florida and Texas to start filing for secession.
Wow.
With Trump back, we'll see how that goes.
I think it's going to take more than 4 years.
You know, these things happen suddenly and quickly. So I think major events like this do drive people into Bitcoin. I really think another driver of people into Bitcoin was when Russia was removed from SWIFT and the international markets. And that is now creating, you know, the BRICS system that, and Russian funds got confiscated by the West. And the UAE staying very neutral, which is great. Another huge advantage for the UAE by staying neutral and having good relations with all the countries, China, Russia, and U.S. Huge advantage for the UAE. It needs to stay that way and stay as neutral as possible. So that's a huge advantage that it's been doing. But these competing systems, again, drive people into Bitcoin because it's the ultimate asset that is unconfiscatable, as Russia found out with their $300 billion being seized by the SWIFT financial system. And more countries will start protecting their wealth in Bitcoin as well, because of the unconfiscatable word that kind of I got the ball rolling on.
Yeah, of course. And you own the domain. Great stuff.
I'm working on the trademark. We'll see. We'll see if it gets approved.
Of course. Tone Vays, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here at BetTalks. Check out all the platforms. Tone Vays, absolute legend, probably one of the most knowledgeable guys in finance I've ever spoke to. It's been a pleasure having you here. And
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, just Tone Vays all over social media. And hopefully I'll see you next time I'm here in the UAE. I'm happy to come back.
Pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Woo!